Hello, welcome to the WCS podcast. My name is Brandon Pence. This is Jacob.
Hello.
This is Francisco.
Hello.
This is Bobby Joe.
Hello.
This is Alex.
Hello.
And today we will talk about the Industrial Revolution and some things that happened during it.
Yes.
Who wants to start?
I feel like since you did the intro, you should start.
Alright. Let's see. Oh, God. Well, I don't know much about the Industrial Revolution, but we do have some facts here. Things I know right off the bat that I'm just going to say is I know that during this time there were very immoral things. It was a dark time, kind of. It was dark, but it was also a age of, hey, we're learning and we're growing.
Yeah.
What do you mean by immoral?
People's living conditions were not good at all. People's rights were kind of not sort of treated in the right way, and they were broken in a way. People were forced, in a sense, to work at factories, and it really was a messy time. So, it's just a thing to point out.
Yeah, like people's lives were essentially just thrown away to make progress.
Yeah, it's like, hey, sign this waiver, and then you can work for us. You'll make money, you can have a life. Some of that was a lie, because it was like, in cotton factories, people could lose hands, like, in a simple accident. It was not a good time.
You could have a life. Maybe.
Short one.
You got anything to add, Jacob?
Yeah, the main thing that actually sparked the Industrial Revolution was we figured out how to make water pumps to pump out the water and gases from the coal mines. So we were able to mine extremely large amounts of coal to get better stuff, and that's when steam engines were really getting around.
Steam engines, which meant the start of, it wasn't not the start of combustion engines, but it kind of kick-started that, hey, what if we can make faster transportation?
Yeah, and then the train started going around.
Alright. So, as you were saying, Jacob? Oh, right, steam engines, oh my god. Alright, so, we had technical difficulties. Steam engines kick-started combustion engines, but that was not in a while. After a while, you said something about trains.
Yeah.
About that, go ahead.
I was making a really bad pun of trains going around.
Oh.
Keep going.
Yeah, keep going.
So, trains really helped a lot of... It made trade easier, because you can take large amounts of things a long distance to other locations, which made trade faster, and generally made civilizations grow much more, because where train stations were, civilizations were also bound to be. So much more train stations means more towns, it means more areas for people to live.
When I think of trains, I think of the Wild Wild West movies where there's those people on the horses robbing the trains.
What was the name of the famous robbery? It was the something brothers. I don't remember.
I don't remember.
We can talk about the Wild West in another time.
Well, trains and what you were talking about when we started, they go together because of the conditions the workers would live in to make all the tracks and all that. Especially a lot of people coming from Asia.
Yeah.
And they work mostly in building the tracks and all of that.
Yeah.
They would have to work in the blistering hot weather most of the time. Sometimes, they would work because it needed to get done, and people were like, we're going to do this. You're going to work. Let's do this. Come on.
So what can you tell us about the trains?
About the trains, steam trains, they were invented, Richard, I don't know how to say his name. Richard invented the first working steam train in No, not 1608, 1806. And George Stephenson's rocket, 1829, was important for convincing people of the potential of steam trains.
One of the most common things that old steam train engines were used for was actually to power the water pumps that would actually pull out the water, because they used a cooling mechanism to make it where, if you ever like put hot water in a bottle and shook it around and put it in cold water, the can will literally shrink.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they did. So when the water went over the pump, it would actually go inside the piece to make the steam compress itself. So it kept on doing that back and forth, which was actually a really good design at the time. Now we've got combustion engines, which aren't efficient in any way, but work a lot better because they're a lot smaller.
Yeah?
Yeah, and I know trains had a lot of criticism for their time because people were saying, humans are not meant to go that fast, or...
Yeah. Yeah, people were like, no, we're not supposed to do that. That's dangerous. That's not possible.
Now we're like hitting Mach what? To go into space?
Yeah, we're going all the way to Mars and all that fun stuff. Yeah.
But that is funny because people did believe that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny.
It was like a risk
Yeah,
to your health to be in a train because of the speed.
yeah.
Yeah, I know a lot of technical advances have come across that type of feedback.
Space travel. Yeah, anyway.
Again, we're in space.
We're not so meant to be there.
Yeah. You got anything to say, Alex?
In space.
No, not really.
Alright.
Another interesting fact about space is one of the most, I forgot the name of the tragedy, but 7 astronauts were killed in a space launch, which, like you're saying, is with evolution comes risk and all that.
Apollo 2 or something? I don't remember.
A
Yeah,
couple of them, actually.
yeah.
Yeah, several of the Apollos did not do that well.
Hey, I feel like, this is going to be an episode in the future. Space.
Space is just gonna be its own thing, and we're gonna be really good at it, though.
Because we keep coming back to it.
Yeah, it's like, hey, space. You guys know about that? Alright, okay, back to Industrial Revolution. Next, machine tools. How about you do this one?
I don't know much about machine tools. Hey Jacob, you wanted to talk about machine tools?
I'm about to talk about something more interesting about how people were complaining about the speed of trains. We literally have a train that can go almost Mach 1 to 2.
Yeah, we have maglev trains.
Those things go super fast, but people are like, okay, let's hop on this. But now, okay, then...
There are plans for trains that literally just can cross from one side of New York to the other, and their stopping mechanisms are literally giant cushions. And people are like, yeah, this'll work.
Marshmallows will fix anything.
Get ready for the stop button.
Everyone, prepare yourselves.
Actually, you don't want to tense up, because that increases the chance of breaking a bone, because
Yeah, I
our
know.
bones are designed to take, I think it's 275 PSI.
Pounds per square inch, don't
Yeah.
use PSI.
Whatever. I know it's PSI. But more you intensify your muscles, the increasing of the surrounding of the bone will be to more brittleness. That's why usually people, if you've seen Ender's Game, read the book, they actually make a reference about this when I think it was Bernard. Was it Bernard?
I don't know.
Why do you guys not know this? But I do. But he tensed up and he hit a wall and he broke his entire arm because of it.
Whoa.
Yeah. Well, not his entire arm, but part of his arm.
So you're supposed to just...
Be limp, yes. That's why when people get in tornadoes and get knocked out, that's why they're usually least injured than the people that weren't conscious.
Like okay.
Okay, so the fact that they're, tensing up is what makes them get hurt.
This is a tangent, but I heard a story once of a man who was picked up in a city by a tornado, then flung, I think it was like 100 meters in a direction, and he survived.
Yeah.
And like one day, someone just came across him and was like, "What?" And they took him and they got him the help he needed. He was perfectly fine. A month later.
Another example, this was actually happened to me. I was riding a scooter and I barely fell, but I tensed up my arm so much that I broke this bone here and my elbow.
Oh,
wow. He's meaning one of the bones in the wrist and
They're all funny.
the plate. Yeah, the phone. Okay. We'll say the funny bone. Sure. Anyway, tangent done. Let's get to the thing. Machine tools. Prior to the Industrial Revolution, metal was fashioned by hand, which was a very labor-intensive. Machine tools such as cylinder boring tools, milling machine, and the milling machine enabled mass production of things like cylinders for steam trains, which, as we already talked about, was useful. More on that. Power hammers. Those were starting to be thought up because with the thought of steam engines, we could make motorized hammers, meaning metal could be worked faster and harder, and blacksmithing was a lot easier.
I can just imagine like the early metal, like electrical tools. Like people with electricity, I can just see something going awfully wrong. Oh, I got the steam tool, or I got this electrical, and it goes into it, the steam barely touches electrical wiring, the guy gets shot dead. How common was that?
Okay, well, here's an interesting one. Around this time, one of the inventions that people were working on is refrigerators. And refrigerators back then were dangerous. They would kill so many people because the gas would leak. They would just burn down a house or a building or everything. So they didn't really have the technology that they needed to build an efficient refrigerator, and they would cause a lot of accidents and things that we don't see today. Like, oh yeah, my fridge is fine.
I actually never heard of that. I figured I would have learned, like, refrigerators' biggest threat.
Yes, and it was like that, like, whoa, careful.
Just like, whoa, you have a refrigerator in your home? Is it running?
Guys, we can't make refrigerators. Humans aren't supposed to do that.
Humans aren't supposed to have cold food.
Okay.
You're not supposed to have food available for when you need it.
Here's an interesting thing. Like the original refrigerators were called ice boxes, where they had a big brick of ice. I think it was put on top of the fridge.
Yes.
It was the fridge was just literally a wooden box.
Yeah.
Not much insulation.
Yes.
Before that, way before that, people would literally dig holes, make it a cement, just fill it, or not cement, because cement didn't exist.
It did.
Well, it did, but it wasn't till, like, the era I'm talking of, it didn't. But it was, back then, they would dig holes, they would fill it with stone and carve it out so that it was in the right dimensions of a room. Then they would put their preserved foods in there, and then they would put a hatch over it, and then it would be that would be the refrigerator. Refrigerator. And they would occasionally take blocks of ice into there.
I want to know an interesting fact about how they actually preserved ice through the summer. Through the sawmills, they actually bought little sawdust.
Yeah.
And they would literally just pile it on top of the ice. And over time, the ice would hardly melt because all the sawdust was insulating the own ice and keeping it frozen.
Yep.
It was very, very interesting. There's also so many accidents because while cutting the ice, one of the ice blocks that weren't fully frozen to the ice could have fallen off and killed people. That's actually one of the number one things that we're scared of ice boxes, because the ice could fall out and kill you. Because the ice weighed probably about 100 pounds or so. It was like a big block like this.
Oh, packed ice.
Yes.
Yeah.
And getting the ice itself, the old-fashioned way using a saw, took hours and hours on end. Now we just can use a chainsaw and just go right through the ice.
Yeah, and I know ice collecting was a really profitable job.
Oh yeah.
Like, I know this.
Yeah, Scandinavia was booming.
And wasn't there teams of people who would go like to Antarctica or something with specialized equipment just to cut chunks of ice off and bring it back?
Well, they wouldn't go to Antarctica, no, because Antarctica's. Well, I'm pretty sure they didn't go to Antarctica. They went to the small islands outside of Antarctica that was soft ice.
That's what I meant, yeah.
Yeah, because going to Antarctica means you have to go through so many glaciers, and I think there's actually a TV series about people that had to do that.
So what do you think, Alex? Another item in your household that could kill you?
Yeah.
Blow dryers.
Oh my God. All right.
Vacuums, probably.
You know?
Vacuums, yeah.
I don't think vacuums were actually that common yet.
I don't know. I don't think so.
I'm,
I think back then they would use just brushes or brooms.
the most common problem with vacuum cleaners was vacuum of gunpowder, and it exploded.
Wait, they made vacuums with gunpowder?
No, okay. Back then there were still musket loads.
Oh.
Vacuum up leftover gunpowder, and somewhere it causes a spark. Nowadays that doesn't happen. Mythbusters actually did try this, and they did loose wiring and everything.
Well, that's because gunpowder has a different composition of chemicals now.
Yeah. The original composition was just sulfur, potassium nitrate, and carbon, which is usually charcoal.
Speaking of chemicals, chemicals such as sulfuric acid, sodium carbonate were important in many industrial processes such as bleaching cloth and other products such as soap and paper, which I'm pretty sure a soap was actually kind of poisonous before that.
A lot of things they used were, for example, everyone was using radium for.
Oh yeah, radium was toothpaste if I remember correctly.
It would make your,
You had a
glowing
shiny
smile, which you literally did.
Okay, they also use lead paint, which is also very bad. They even use asbestos in the roofs as well.
Well, yeah, asbestos was very efficient and cheap.
The roofs nowadays, need popcorn roofs, actually still have asbestos in it.
Yeah, many do.
This one doesn't, thank goodness.
Around that time, one of the ways they got a certain color for clothes and stuff, radium would produce a green color, and they would use it to dye dresses and stuff like that. So everyone was getting poisoned. And now in the beginning, we were talking about bad conditions in the work environment. Factories that were building watches, they were using radium for
connecting things.
To just
make it
so
clean.
it would glow in the dark.
Oh.
And they didn't know that it was that was killing their employees. They would try to blame it on so many other ridiculous things, and it was that. But back then they didn't know. So.
And I just think back about clothes, soaps, and all that. The number one thing that people would actually use in the old days was actually urine, because urine carried, I think it's 0.03% bleach.
I did not want to know that.
And,
Now I'm gonna be paranoid when using soap.
it was when they used it to wash their clothes.
Wait a minute.
Wait 1 second.
Literally, they used it as a detergent to wash their clothes, because the bleach inside the urine actually keep the urine from actually being, bad and filled with diseases and germs and all that. But that's actually caused pneumonia, because bleach and pneumonia causes what?
What?
Mustard gas.
I didn't know that.
You didn't?
No.
I knew it.
Then why didn't you say it?
Because
We all looked at Bobby.
So a most common occurrence back then was breathing in the fumes from it would actually cause sick people. Which not many people knew that, because there's a lot of ammonia in urine.
So now, since we're on the topic of things that killed people, then, because apparently this isn't the Industrial Revolution, it's what killed people during the Industrial Revolution.
Yes.
So during that time, as I said, factory workers didn't have that much luxury. everyone didn't have that much luxury, except for people who were like, I made money. They had luxury. But factory workers, worst conditions possible because air conditioning was practically impossible without, just having water flowing through your building. And so they would be inside boxes. They were basically inside giant microwaves. And it would cause heat stroke to often kill people, and dehydration would kill people. What else? Let's see. I don't think heat can do much else, but it was very effective.
Actually, when your body reaches a certain temperature, it can forcibly shut itself down to preserve the...
It can, but it still didn't do much. There were several cases of people just fainting on the job. It's like, oh, well, there goes Janet.
Actually, I'm pretty sure females weren't allowed to work back then.
They were, yeah, commonly in cotton factories.
I knew that part.
Yeah.
Who?
Females weren't usually used in...
No, they were. Actually, this one with the radium, because they have more care handling little pieces, it was preferred that women would work in the factory because they were able to handle those with more care.
Mm-hmm.
So
Cancer.
Yeah.
let's change the subject from, people dying, and let's go into more what was invented to help build society. So, cement. As our paper says right here, Portland cement was important in new engineering products such as the Shames Tunnel. I have no idea what the Shames Tunnel is. Does anyone have any idea?
The what
No,
tunnel? Shames Tunnel?
Shames Tunnel? I don't know how to pronounce it.
Thames? Yeah.
Thames?
I don't know nothing about that, but I know cement was also another dangerous thing because people did not know how to read signs that said, warning, the cement is wet, and people would commonly fall in the wet cement and die. And also, back in the old days during the Industrial Revolution, most people, when they died in factories, so people wouldn't actually find their dead bodies and all that, would actually be buried within cement.
Yes.
But I think there was like a building in New York that when they dug up, they found like buttloads of dead bodies. You know what they did? Cement. Literally.
Wait, so when they were digging in New York...
I want to say around in the 1920s, in the early days, when cement was actually being used.
I didn't know that, so New York is just a grave city.
Yes.
New York is one big grave. That's weird to
There's
think
actually, what are those? Not crucibles. Where they put the dead bones of people in
Crucifixion?
Catacombs.
Oh, no, catacomb.
Yeah, there's actually...
there's New York catacombs. I know those.
Yeah, but there's actually, most of them were completely filled with cement, dirt, and limestone.
Oh.
Which had bone in it.
Oh.
Just,
And most of those dead bodies were actually from the slave era.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Just, yeah.
Yeah.
There's not much to say on that. Just,
Yeah. It's a very, very dark thing. But know what people do say? Just fill it with cement.
hey, boss, we found some bones. Put some cement over it.
All right.
Yeah. Cement has become a very important thing for building houses, roads.
Yeah.
No,
the Germans in World War II building 4-foot thick walls of cement.
Yeah. Any bunkers, really?
Yeah.
How much have we been doing this?
So we have another very interesting one. The telegraph. Says here, was invented in 1837 by Samuel Morse. So this is one of the inventions that leads to everything we have today.
His last name was Morris. The reason why people always get that confused is because Morse code is Morse, not Morris. And so many people, whenever I hear people say it's Morse code, I'm like, no, that's the guy that created it. It's Morse code. Morse code was actually one of It was actually the first scan was on the telegraph.
Awesome. All right.
I find that amazing that scams even existed
Yeah,
back
yeah,
then. Over telegraph.
Yeah,
and
people
you're so scared.
people would be like, I need, I have X amount of workers here ready to work. If you can send me the money to get them to your place, I will gladly get them to you. And it was like, boom, big money.
Oh yeah. What's
No
it
one
called?
knew.
The Prince thing actually existed back then.
Wait, Nigerian prince
Not
scam?
Nigerian Prince. A Prince.
Just a prince?
Yeah, saying I have lots of money. If you can send me this, I can send you some more. This amount, blah blah blah.
Oh my
Actual-
god. I didn't. Jeez, I thought. Nah, the Nigerian prince wouldn't work.
It was a prince.
Just a
Prince
prince.
scam has been here for a long time.
Yeah.
But royal
Next thing we know, it
bloodlines
has
still
been around since medieval.
It's just a pigeon just flying by, saying I have X amount of money. Just send this gold to me and all that crazy stuff. Flies it back, never gets it back.
Send the gold to my kingdom, I would send them with more. Slaughters the men who brings the gold.
Yeah.
Alright.
So let's talk about some of the problems with the Industrial Revolution. I mean, I feel like we've gone over this enough, but let's go over it some more.
Different problems.
Yeah.
The worst part of
Yes. So pollution was a major problem in the Industrial Revolution because the burning of coal caused high. Someone take over for me. I cannot think.
Usually when coal burns, it creates a carbon in the
Yeah,
air, carbon
carbon.
monoxide and dioxide all together, which monoxide is very, very poisonous and it usually seeps around air level. So it was usually commonly breathed in because the big black smoke would usually fall and cause ash rain.
Yes. I just could not think of any of those words.
I studied this part. I studied coal because gunpowder is not my favorite chemicals in the world. Tank is not a chemical; it's a resource now.
Another fact, the West Midlands became known as the Black Country because its landscape of dark foundries, furnaces, and black smoky atmosphere. Which I've seen art done of that before. It's just a big, I would say utopia, but utopia is not the right word.
Dystopia.
Dystopia, you're right, that is the right word. Dystopia of factories right next to each other and people in the streets sick with masks and
Oh yeah.
yeah.
The only other natural devastation that can cause similar things like that is a volcano erupted. Because what's that volcano called? Not Mount Hood, but
Mount Adams that is that way, but you mean
the one that
Helens?
No, the one that
St.
erupted.
Helens.
Yeah, that's it. When that one erupted, it caused ashfall.
Yes. Well,
And people had to wear actual masks. That's the only natural occurrence of natural carbon being produced. And remember, these factories were creating at least 3 volcanoes worth of it about a month.
yeah.
Wow.
So it would just kind of fall out of the air and it'd be like, all right, well, time to get the mask on.
Can you imagine just living in that condition?
You would not be clean.
Ever.
Ever. It's just, you go outside, you stand inside, you're dirty.
Just sticks hands out window. My hands are already black. Oh well. Why do I even take this bath when I can only have one once a week? That's actually also the thing. They only had baths about once every week or so.
Yeah? That's not normal?
Well, I'm saying back then it was for everyone. Most people like to take baths every day or something.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeez. I just noticed my own health. All right, we're wrapping up? No? Oh, okay. All right. Life expectancy. That's a good thing to point out. Life expectancy, weirdly enough, it rose in the 19th century. As some diseases, such as cholera, were brought under control.
No hear no sign. I'm trying to sign what he's about to write. Wait.
Cholera.
Yeah, cholera.
Due to the lead and all that getting in the bloodstream, cool thing about lead, when lead heats up, it actually expands more than usual materials. So when it gets in our body, it actually expands.
Yeah.
Main cause of death
Yeah.
from lead paint.
That's why people would have problem breathing. I wouldn't be surprised if it was the main cause of lots of asthma.
One of the main symptoms of lead poisoning, and one of the first ones you get, is you start to have psychological problems. And, you know, back in the day when people were working in environments like this would happen very often, but they didn't know that lead was causing it, and it was a common thing to be like, oh, this worker just went crazy, and that's why he was laid off.
The usual cause is because the lungs lead everything to the brain.
Mm-hmm. Without oxygen, you don't really think straight, so it's kind of like, you're like, look over there, it's Bob. And just like everyone looks over, there's no one there, and everyone's looking at Steve like, Steve, are you all right, dude?
There's no Steve.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, next week we'll do a second episode on this. Thank you for listening to WCS History Podcast.